All right, day 2 of the NFL draft is in the books. So let's talk about rounds 2 and 3 from a dynasty football perspective, okay? I'm going to be giving you winners and losers. Now, look, there is a ton of winners and losers that we could talk about. So first, why don't you comment down below and let me know who you think the biggest winner and loser is from a dynasty football perspective. Now, I'm going to bring you my winners first, then we'll do losers, and then we'll do something a little bit different, okay? But let's start with the winners. All right, Christian Watson is the first winner that I think we should discuss. It's pretty obvious. I mean, the draft capital is really good. Early second round, they traded up to go get him. Aaron Rodgers is his quarterback, and more importantly, he faces virtually no competition for target share. I mean, who is he really competing with? Sammy Watkins? That's a joke. Allen Lazard? I mean, he's good for, 4 or 5 targets a game, but there is a huge target share that he is likely stepping into as a rookie. However, while this is a winner because of the landing spot, I also am still worried about Christian Watson in general as a prospect, okay? I am a little bit worried that we are seeing MVS 2.0, and I'm not so certain that this is the wide receiver that Aaron Rodgers even would have wanted. What do we know about Aaron Rodgers? He really, really wants someone with secure hands that is a good route runner, can create separation. And Watson, while he's athletically, he's a freak, tested really well. He also had the highest drop rate percentage of any wide receiver in this class. So he doesn't necessarily have the most reliable hands. He's not even ever been in an offense where he's been demanded all that much of volume. So it's going to be interesting. However, purely because of the draft capital and the landing spot, I think it's safe to say he's a locked first round pick in rookie drafts. Next, I got Breece Hall there. Great draft capital. Again, anytime a team moves up to grab one of these guys and it's good draft capital, those are two things that are really, really good for dynasty football. Now, what's important to note here is that I know Michael Carter is there, but Michael Carter probably moves to the J.D. McKissic type role within this offense. You could say Nyheim Hines. Nyheim Hines is less involved than J.D. McKissic. I think Nyheim Hines is the floor for Carter. J.D. McKissic is probably the ceiling for Carter. It is going to be Breece Hall's backfield. He's probably going to see 60 to 65% of the snaps. And this offense got better as a whole. I mean, you got Garrett Wilson. The defense improved. The entire team in general became a much, much better team in this draft. A lot of people say the Jets are the winner of the draft. So hopefully, if you're a Carter owner, because he's going to be on the loser list, you were able to sell him. I did make a video about 2 weeks ago saying you should probably sell him. So hopefully you're able to get good value for him. But even with Michael Carter there, because I compared Carter maybe to Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissic, Breece Hall would be the Antonio Gibson there. But Breece Hall is far better of a prospect than Antonio Gibson ever was. He's a more natural running back at the position, and he tested much better, and his production was much better as well in college. So I think there's more than enough here to lock in Breece Hall as the 101 in this year's draft, especially after the quarterback's kind of disappointed. Next winner, I would say, is Kenneth Walker. Again, really good draft capital. And more importantly, he is headed to an offense that their entire identity is going to be built around the run. They didn't go any quarterback in this class, all right? There's no Malik there. There's no Ritter there. It will be Drew Lock from what we see, and this entire offense is going to be built around the run. Pete probably wants to get back to what they did when Russell Wilson first joined this team, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see 35 to 40 rush attempts per game for the Seattle Seahawks. I know Rashad Penny's there, but they already declined his 5th-year option, so there's not really any long-term running back really to be worried about. And if you look at every pick the Seahawks have made so far, 3 out of their 4 picks have pretty much revolved around the run game, if you think about it, right? Charles Cross, Abraham Lucas, both to improve the offensive line, and then, of course, Kenneth Walker. So I think you can pretty much lock in Kenneth Walker, in my eyes, because of the running back scarcity. I think you can lock him in as a top 5 option in Superflex rookie drafts. I've said this before, but outside of Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall, I don't think that there is a true workhorse running back in the class. So running back scarcity, I think I'm not upset if you take Kenneth Walker anywhere from the 1-3, 1-4, 1-2, maybe if you're super desperate, but I think there might be a better play there. Next, of course, as you can see, John Mechie. John Mechie went a lot higher than I anticipated. I don't know about you guys. Comment down below, let me know, but I did not expect John Mechie to go as high as he did. He felt more like a third round prospect or maybe end of the second round, but it's a good offense that he landed in over there in Houston. And when I say good offense, I mean it's an upcoming offense, okay? The offensive line is decent. Davis Mills showed some promise. And also, he steps into a wide receiver core where it makes a lot of sense for him to be there. It's not like Wan'Dale Robinson and Kadarius Toney, where why does this make sense? No, I mean, you think about this wide receiver core. You have Brandon Cooks, Nico Collins, Brevin Jordan, and then John Mechie. We always say you want to build a basketball team with your wide receiver core, and all of these players here can bring something different to the table. So I think Mechie actually fits perfectly here in Houston, and he's connected to a team that is probably going to be down late in a lot of games as a rookie. So I think there's going to be enough target share for them. I imagine him probably getting anywhere from 4 to 7 targets per game. This could be someone that is a little bit underrated in rookie drafts. I mean, maybe he averages anywhere from 8 to 10 points a game as a rookie. Next, Sky Moore, obviously went a little bit later than I anticipated. I definitely thought Sky would have gone ahead of a lot of those other wide receivers. However, the landing spot, you couldn't have really asked for a better landing spot for Sky Moore. This is probably the best possible landing spot. Green Bay looked really great, right? But you have to keep in mind, Aaron Rodgers is almost 40 years old. So now you're attached to a decade plus of Patrick Mahomes if all things go well. You also have Andy Reid with a creative play calling, a high scoring offense. You guys know how much I loved Sky Moore. I loved his tape. I loved his film. Had some of the biggest hands in the class. I think they're going to get really creative. He is not Tyreek Hill, but there's a lot of speed on this team. So I think they can use him in some very creative ways. I'm very excited to see where he goes. I also think he's a lock for the first round of rookie drafts. I really think Sky Moore, you can lock him in. He should probably be going anywhere from 107 to 110 area. Jalen Tolbert is also a huge winner here. The talent was always obvious with Jalen Tolbert, but he played at South Alabama and there wasn't really a ton of hype. But watching him on film, you could see the big body, the athleticism. My concern was always, will he get high enough draft capital to be considered? Or will he land in an offense where there is a role that he could potentially carve out for himself? I saw Tolbert more being a 4th, 5th round pick. So for him to go here and also to land with the Dallas Cowboys, I think he's a perfect wide receiver 2/3 within this offense. And yes, I say that because I do think that Tolbert and Michael Gallup will kind of be competing for that wide receiver 2 spot. CeeDee Lamb is safe, but Michael Gallup is probably, going to be competing with targets here for Jalen Tolbert. That's how talented Tolbert is. High scoring offense, though, connected to a Pro Bowl quarterback. Opportunities will come. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, they just paid Michael Gallup a ton of money. If you actually look at the wide receiver market, Gallup got a very team-friendly deal. I mean, he's not even top 25 as far as paid wide receivers. And almost every wide receiver who got paid this offseason is making bank. So it was actually a team-friendly deal if you look at it. And then David Bell is the last one on this list. David Bell was someone that we enjoyed watching his film. However, we did have questions around the athleticism. He goes from being probably an early second now to being a late third. I think that drop probably makes a lot of sense with what we saw from mainstream media as well as the combine. But the landing spot is great. If you have to fall somewhere, at least you land in a spot where there's not a ton of competition for targets, right? Obviously, Amari Cooper is the guy. But outside of Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones really is a deep threat. Doesn't really get more than 4 or 5 targets per game. So this landing spot is great, and you're connected to Deshaun Watson. So very few quarterbacks, I guess, make wide receivers fantasy relevant better than Deshaun Watson. I mean, he has created Will Fuller into a top 10 wide receiver before in fantasy. So I think with Amari Cooper there, now we get David Bell to kind of step in, play over the middle. He's not a burner by any means, but I think he can be a consistent player and probably a flex at some point. I think that's his upside. He could be a true flex for one of your teams. Now, those were the winners. Comment down below. Again, let me know, who do you think is the biggest winner? I could be missing someone. That's because there is so much content to cover. But now let's talk about the losers of day 2. You can now see the list that I have put together. Michael Carter, I highlighted it a little bit already. But look, a lot of people, about 2 months ago, I started asking the question on our live streams, should we be worried about Michael Carter? Because the Jets are in a prime position for a running back. Then 2 weeks ago, we made a video called NFL Draft Side Effects, players that we're worried about, and Carter was on that list for me. I hope you're able to sell him. But a lot of people kept telling me, nope, the Jets aren't going to, they're not going to draft a running back. They feel set with Michael Carter. And a lot of people kept comparing him to Austin Eckler. There's no way that Michael Carter becomes Austin Eckler. It's just not going to happen. Breece Hall will be there for probably 5+ years now. I mean, it's just not going to happen for Michael Carter. I think like I said, Michael Carter's ceiling is, J.D. McKissic on his good year, right? So Michael Carter can still be a top 24, top 30 guy, but he's not got top 12 upside. And unless you're in a PPR format, especially if you're half PPR, then his ceiling is severely capped by Breece Hall. It would be better if this pick was Kenneth Walker, because at least you're like, well, Kenneth Walker's not really a great pass catcher. That role will be solidified for Michael Carter, but it wouldn't surprise me if Breece even stays in for some of these third downs. The more likely scenario is as a rookie, we will see Carter get probably 40% to Breece's 60% as a rookie, but this hurts Carter's upside significantly, and his trade value will definitely have taken a hit. Rashad Penny is second. Obviously, if you take the second best running back in the class, then you're going to be impacted in a negative light, right? The other thing that sucks here is if you own Rashad Penny, this was supposed to be a huge year. We were really hoping for a breakout from what we saw at the back end of last year, so he could go get a new contract, whether it was with the Seahawks or another team. But now, with Kenneth Walker arriving, it is really difficult to see a way that Rashad Penny is going to have enough opportunities to really play himself into a starting role, right? I don't know if we're going to see the James Conner contract where he gets a year with a team to be a starter. It's hard to say at this point, and likely Penny will kind of be a spell back with Kenneth Walker there. Next, we have Kadarius Toney and Wan'Dale Robinson. I mean, what the hell was this? Did anyone else watch this pick and just think to themselves, what the hell are the Giants doing? Unless they trade Kadarius Toney, this is one of the worst picks in the draft. And it's not because Wan'Dale Robinson is not a good talent. I like Wan'Dale Robinson. I thought he was around too early, but these are very similar players. It's like the Giants said to themselves, okay, guys, all right, we're on the clock. Now, I want you to find me a player that we pretty much have the identical replica already of on our squad. And they're like, okay, it's Wan'Dale Robinson. Perfect, let's draft him. Now, look, if they trade Toney, then this makes a little bit more sense. But, I mean, Wan'Dale, to be honest, is kind of a poor man's Kadarius Toney. I like Wan'Dale, but I don't think he has that same upside. So, I don't know. I really, really don't understand this. But if Toney stays and Wan'Dale stays, both of their upsides are significantly hurt because neither of these guys are going to be playing on the outside. It doesn't make any sense. And is Shepard back? I can't remember. Next is George Pickens and Chase Claypool. You guys know how much I love George Pickens. As far as a talent, I do believe he is the second most talented wide receiver in this year's class. However, the landing spot is absolutely going to impact where you should draft him in rookie drafts, okay? I believe in the talent, but stepping into Pittsburgh, there is a lot of competition for George Pickens. He's not going to be one of these wide receivers that, in the first 5 weeks is able to get 7+ targets per game. That's just unrealistic for George Pickens. So you do have to question how long it will take. This might be a slow burn, right? I mean, you're competing with Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, Najee Harris, Pat Freiermuth, who they got last year. So, along with that, we don't really know what Kenny Pickett's going to be. or Mason Rudolph or what consistency there will be in this offense. I like Pickens. I think you can still consider him at the end of the first rounds, but you have to know if you draft George Pickens that it's going to be a slow burn, and you cannot expect him to be more valuable this time next year than what we thought of him before the draft. Does that make sense? Love Pickens, but he might be someone that I want to buy low on midseason rather than paying up for. And this breaks my heart because I love Pickens. I really wanted him to go to Kansas City. I thought that was such a good match. It didn't happen. So you have to lower him in your rookie rankings. It just has to happen. My rookie rankings will be out in 2 days. I'm going to update them for you. Just so you guys are aware, I make 2 sets of rankings. One based off of talent evaluation and the other based off of where I would draft players if I was doing a rookie draft, because landing spots are important, right? You got a quarterback that you're attached to, an offense that you're attached to, a scheme, competition around you for target share or carries. So these things definitely matter. So for George Pickens and Chase Claypool, right? I think both of their values are hurt a little bit. Claypool is not George Pickens, but none of these guys are Juju. I'll say that, okay? It's not as if someone's filling the Juju role. I don't really understand. I guess I understand because the value was great there, but it's not the best fit for opportunity, for target share. We have to acknowledge that, and I'm sad about it. Next, we got Devin Singletary. This is pretty self-explanatory, right? Another running back in the rotation. Now, I don't view James Cook as the guy. We were on a live stream recently and someone said, well, I think they went up and they got their guy and James Cook is going to be the workhorse. I don't think that's the case, okay? Firstly, I don't think James Cook is talented enough or big enough to really handle a workload like that. But secondly, let's think about this Buffalo Bills offense. What have we always seen at the running back position since Josh Allen's been the guy is a different team that they face, they will utilize a different running back for a game plan. Maybe one team, they want to play Zach Moss a little bit if it's snowing or if the weather's bad. Or if they're down, maybe they put Devin Singletary in. Now, remember they wanted J.D. McKissick. Maybe James Cook is a luxury pick for them that now they're going to use as kind of that J.D. McKissick for a different type of game plan. So to me, I think Devin Singletary's upside is severely capped. However, I don't think James Cook is going to rock up in this offense and get like 60+% of the snaps. No, I think it's going to be a 2-way split and maybe even a 3-way split with Zach Moss, depending on what they need. That's just the way the offense works, unfortunately. So I'm not thrilled about Devin Singletary. However, with James Cook, of course, this is a great landing spot, but I don't think James Cook is a first-round pick. Some people have been saying that on live streams. No, I still don't think James Cook should be a first-round pick. There are way too many wide receivers that should be selected before him. So to me, Devin Singletary, James Cook, both impacted. Great landing spot for Cook. This is good for him. But for Singletary, it's just another guy in the rotation. And how do I sum this up? Basically, there will not be enough consistency in my eyes for any Buffalo running back, to be honest. And does James Cook stop Buffalo from going a running back next year if they fall in love with one? I don't think so. So I think this is great for James Cook, not good for Devin Singletary, really bad for Zach Moss. Last one there is Michael Gallup. And look, this just significantly caps his upside. I think he was stepping into a lot of targets, and now we kind of have to take a step back and say, well, Jalen Tolbert's on the squad. He's a very talented wide receiver. I wouldn't be surprised if Tolbert and Gallup, if 1 year from now, I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen Tolbert was a more valuable asset. And Gallup, with not getting the draft capital, not getting the major contract, I think there are question marks on if they feel it's necessary to prioritize him if Tolbert is that good of a talent. So I'm not panicking on Gallup. I'm not panicking on anyone on this list except for Michael Carter and Devin Singletary. But there are reasons to be worried, and these players definitely lost value. All right, the last thing, we'll do this really quickly, is these are players who I didn't see as winners, but I also didn't see them as losers. They're more just question marks. I looked at these these moves and I thought, what do we make of this? And I don't know the answer just yet. So firstly, all the quarterbacks, Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, Matt Corral, I like the landing spots, don't like the draft capital, right? But if we think about it, every single one of these quarterbacks are in positions to potentially start year one, okay? Desmond Ridder behind Malik Willis, would it surprise anyone? Week 4, 5, 6, 7, if Ridder gets an opportunity, because all these teams are probably going to be in a position to get a quarterback next year, except for the Titans. So they would want to know what they have in these guys, right? Matt Corral. You're telling me Matt Corral couldn't beat out Sam Darnold? I mean, he could at least have a chance. And the Panthers are going to probably be a bad team again, so they want to know what they have with Corral to see if they need to get a quarterback in 2023. And then Malik Willis, I've been worried about Ryan Tannehill's job security for a long time. So I like the landing spots, but I don't like the draft capital. I do still think that Ridder and Malik and Corral should all be considered at the end of the first. Probably better to consider them, only Malik should be considered at the end of the first. But I think all three of these guys should be going in second rounds, whether that's from the 203, the 204, the 205, when there's a drop off in the wide receiver talent. However, in Superflex formats, someone on our live streams mentioned they shouldn't go until the third round. That's just not true. They should all go in the second round. You just have to determine what the risk reward is for you. Next, the Rachaad White and Leonard Fournette move. The reason we love Leonard Fournette is because how many targets he got. But Rachaad White is a really good pass catching back. And he also is a big body. So will there be a running back by committee kind of formed? I don't know what that looks like just yet. Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. I am of the belief that Brian Robinson is a really good depth piece. However, listening to Ron Rivera's press conference, I don't know what to think anymore. I do think Antonio Gibson will still be the guy, but there's no way to look at this and say that it's good for Gibson. Do you know what I mean? There's no way to spin it and say that it's good. I just don't know what to think of it. Terrion Davis Price and Elijah Mitchell, same thing. There's no way to spin this as something good. There's already enough running backs in San Francisco. So why do we have to draft another one? I don't know. And then every single tight end that went off the board, McBride, it was a good landing spot for sure, but Ertz just signed a 3-year contract. When will he really get a shot at targets? Same with, the other guys. I don't really love their landing spots. I don't hate it. So these are just question marks that I have that over the next week I will probably figure out and make content about. But you comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Are you excited for day 3? If you are, make sure you stay up with me after round 7. I will be doing live mock drafts on the channel. See you then.
Yo, what's good?
What
Thanks
up?
for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch
now,
it.
You can also subscribe
Right now.
if you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/FantasyLandFam.